What did I do? Welcome to Cocktails in the War Room, everybody. I am Mistress Carrie, and welcome to episode 177 that we have filmed here in my war room, which is actually a room in my house. And, we've been calling it the War Room for a really long time. But back on March 14th of 2020, I asked you to join me for a cocktail in the War Room. And ever since then, things have been a little crazy. Now, almost every episode I have had my co-host, come here, Wednesday. My co-host and her wiener, sit down, sit. This is Wednesday to anybody that's new to the War Room. That's Wednesday's wiener to anybody that's new to the War Room. Her best pal, Zero, come here, Zero, is also here in the War Room. And Wednesday can be found on Instagram at Wednesday the Goth Puck. And she is the Ed McMahon to my Johnny Carson. She is the Garth to my Wayne, and she has kept me sane over all 177 episodes over the last 2+ years and going. Want to say welcome to everybody. What's up to the guys at the boat? Hello, Ash is here. Brito is here. Keith, Denise, Dina, Penny, Lisa, Richard Fitz is here. Barbara, Donna, Christine, Alexis, Elsa joining me here in the War Room. Back up, Wednesday. Get down, down, down. Down. No, down. Down. Where'd that other cookie go? It fell on the floor. Hold on. Oh, God. Okay, move over. Here you go. Sit. Sit. Good girl. My hair is fire, says Ash. Today has been a day. I have a lot to talk to you guys about. Down. And obviously you can see that I got my hair cut today because, well, the only time it's ever curly is when Linda, my hairdresser, curls it because she's the only one that can actually get it to curl. Come here, Zero. Good girl, Wednesday. You want to say hi to everybody? Say hi. Tonight, there is a lot to talk about, and I don't know how long I'm going to be able to make it through the show because I'm exhausted, and I'll explain to you why. It's been, the last 24 hours have been a lot. Hold on. I tried to send out a tweet about the War Room starting, and I never finished it because Wednesday came over here and started begging for cookies. For everybody that has a Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass, we got together for our monthly exclusive live stream on Sunday night. So for anybody that has a Backstage Pass here in the War Room, I apologize for the redundancy. I have talked to you guys a little bit about my sore shoulder that I've been dealing with. And I went and saw an orthopedic who diagnosed this sore shoulder that I have with something called adhesive capsulitis, otherwise known as frozen shoulder syndrome. And it's really gotten bad over the last few months. Sorry, I need a drink tonight. So cheers to you guys. Oh, God, that's good. And it's extremely painful. There's no real exact cause for why it is that I have this thing all of a sudden, but my arm's been killing me. So this morning I got up at 0 dark ass crack early, and my sister drove me to the doctor to get an injection into my shoulder. And it was done partly with a robot. So I got a robot injection today, which is a little bit weird. I want to say what's up to everybody that was working at the hospital, because there were a lot of rockers that were working in the hospital, and they gave me a lot of love, which was amazing. But basically what they did was they took an ultrasound machine and they took a big giant freaking needle and they went through the back of my shoulder, which is now all bruised up. And they took this needle, by the way, with ultrasound, with the screen in front of me. So I had to watch the whole thing, which was like living through the Blair Witch Project, because like the graininess or whatever. And then when I saw the thing moving, knowing that it was a needle in my shoulder, not pleasant. But they took this giant gauge needle that with syringes full of some kind of steroid, and they navigated it through and then got in there and then moved it around the soft tissues and injected what felt like volcanic lava into my shoulder. And it sucked. My arm feels better. I've got some more movement. They said it could take a week or two for me to feel the full effects of the relief of the inflammation in the actual, it's the capsule that your shoulder joint sits in that gets inflamed, and it literally stops your arm from moving. And it's incredibly painful, and it totally sucks. And so physical therapy and this injection, and they told me that the steroids were probably going to make me really warm today. And so I've started, just in the last hour, I've started to sweat. So if I start sweating on the show tonight, I apologize because I can't stop it. My arm is bruised and sore, and it's slowly moving, but it's been, yes, a robot injection. Isn't that a Steel Panther song, says Richard Fitz. Bruins down 6-1. Game's getting chippy now. Happy unbirthday, Keys. Ugh, awful, says Donna. Let's see. Just had 3 in my back. Amazing. It was not pleasant for the 10 minutes. The doctor was amazing. If I could do it again, which I hope I don't have to, but there's a chance I might have to, I don't want to watch the video again. As interesting as it would be to watch it for someone else, watching the freaking needle going in and out of the soft tissue and feeling it rotating around. Wasn't a fan. But the thing I really want to talk to you guys about, and I just want to get it out in the open because it's been a really trying day for my family. I don't talk a lot about this. There are certain things and certain people in my life and in my past that I try very hard to just avoid the subject because there's that old adage that if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. And I have learned in my old age that my temper can sometimes get the best of me. And I have the ability sometimes to say things to finish an argument that can be incredibly cruel and mean. And even if they're true, especially here on the interwebs, whatever it is that I say is going to live on forever. So I'm going to try and choose my words very carefully. This morning, my sister and I received the news that our dad passed away. And without getting into too many of the gory family details, speaking just for myself, I've been estranged from him for almost 20 years. And there's a lot to unpack there. There's a lot of family drama there. And have not seen and barely heard from him in almost 20 years. And when everything first kind of happened with the family, and by the way, I know everybody has family drama in their families. My family could make drama an Olympic event in some ways. And growing up, there was a lot of drama with the adults that I kind of grew up around. And I think that's one of the reasons why I don't back away from a fight very easily, because it was always kind of around, I think growing up in a Sicilian family, sometimes that's kind of expected. But it's something that you kind of always, it's a phone call that you kind of always know that you're going to get eventually, and you're never really sure how you're going to feel about it. And I bring it up because we have talked a lot here in the War Room, over 177 episodes, about loss and grief and the family that the War Room has become. And that's a name that you gave yourselves, which I love so much, because the most important lesson, if I look back at the life that I had with my dad in it, formative years, and there were a lot of great times, don't get me wrong. It wasn't until adulthood that things really kind of went awry. The most important, I think, lesson that he taught me was that there is a distinct difference between relatives and family. And I bring it up because when the War Room started, and the group of you that forged here, when you named yourself the War Room family, that really struck a chord with me, because I really, truly do believe that there is a distinct difference in definition between the word relative and between the word family, and I'll explain. I believe relative is not a choice. You are related to the people you are related to, whether you want to be or not. You don't get to choose the family you're born into. You are born involuntarily, and you just get thrust into this social construct, this group that is supposed to be your first tribe. And they are the people that are supposed to love you the most and raise you, and you share genetic makeup and common experience and evolutionary DNA with these people. But you don't do it by choice. I believe family, and that word is a choice. And I believe that you can have a family with relatives in it, but relatives don't get to be family by default. That the word family means that you have chosen these people to surround yourself with. You have chosen these people to love, and you have chosen these people to trust and to forge together and say, this is my tribe. It's a conscious effort and decision. And that difference for me is a profound life lesson that I was taught growing up because of the example set with my family. And as I got older, it is something that I then learned in practice as an adult with the people around me. I talk extensively about the people that I met overseas, which, by the way, before I go any further, my AAF to Afghanistan guys came home 10 years ago yesterday. So to all of my guys, my family, I hope that you are all living the life 10 years from returning home that you all thought long and hard about in your year-long deployment in Afghanistan. So to all of my AAF to Afghanistan guys, my family, happy anniversary. But those trips were a profound example for me, life-changing, life-altering example of these people that did not have to accept me, but did, and have chosen to stay in my life. And I've heard from so many of them today, as I have been kind of publicly talking about the loss of my dad. And the conscious choice to not be in my family was a decision that was made by my dad. A decision that he continued to make day after day. A decision that he made once he found out he was ill, and didn't tell me that he was ill, so I had no idea that this was going on. And it's a decision that right up until the end, he decided to continue to make. And so I am in this weird place that I know that there are supposed to be feelings and emotions felt. I know that's the proper response, but I also am not feeling things that maybe other people with this kind of significant loss would feel. And that's weird. I know it's a coping mechanism. I know that it's something that as an adult, it's just something that you do. But it feels very strange. And I have had to today come to terms with the fact that it's a decision that he made as an adult, and that I can only hope that he was happy that he made that decision every day for the last 20 years and continued to make that decision right up until today. And I also have had to accept and come to terms with the fact that I don't have any regrets about how I responded to that situation. And that acceptance of my own actions over the last 20 years and the acceptance of my feelings, my response, my words. In this life, I think the best thing that you can do is be able to put your head on the pillow at the end of the day and have no regrets. My grandfather that I've talked about extensively here in the war room, my papa that served in World War II and Korea, had an uncanny knack of being able to fall asleep at the drop of a hat, which is something I know a lot of military personnel have had to learn over the years in their training. My grandmother attributed it to having a clean conscience. And that if you have a clean conscience, that you're able to just fall asleep because there's nothing gnawing at your psyche, that you are accepting of your behaviors and that you are okay with your choices. And I have had to accept that, there is not going to be, because I think you always kind of hold out hope that maybe the person that wronged you may come to terms with that mistake and be able to make amends for it, because I think that's a lesson that we all as adults, it's not easy to admit that you're wrong, admit that you've hurt people that you care about, that love you, and to be able to ask for forgiveness. These are difficult adult things. And I think sometimes you hold out hope that someone is going to be able to do that. And when they're not able to do that, when it's something that you can do yourself, it's kind of weird that you can look at someone and be like, it shouldn't be that hard. And so this has kind of all been going on with me over the last, say, 20 years. And so like it all kind of culminated today with the definite kind of ending to that chapter of my life and that storyline. And this is just how life is now. Obviously, with everything that I've talked about here in the War Room, when it comes to my family and my mom, there's just a lot to unpack here. And so all I can tell you guys is that between dealing with the pain in my shoulder over the last couple of months, which has gotten progressively worse to the point where it's disrupted my sleep, not because I don't have a clean conscience, but because I just can't sleep. And then the news that we just got over the last 24 hours, it's been a day. And it would have been easy for me to come into the War Room tonight and just kind of gloss over it. I was on the air earlier today, talking about the Foo Fighters and Taylor Hawkins and, talking about what it is that you talk about when you're doing a rock show on the radio, trying to help the people that are listening at work get through their day. I could have tried to do that tonight, but the War Room isn't that. The War Room is this place that's real, that we talk about real things. And so I wanted to give you the respect to kind of explain to you this difficulty of grappling with the emotion that I am feeling and then the lack thereof. Because there is, as an outsider, judgment there, where you could say, well, it's your dad. How can you feel that way? And why couldn't you be the one to try and make amends? And people have given me that advice over the years. I haven't appreciated that advice, but people have said it out loud. And there were a lot of people that have said recently, aren't you going to regret if it's too late that you could have been the one to take the adult step and to take that step? And I've just always been a believer that the person that did the wronging should be the one that does the righting. And maybe that's the definition of stubborn. Maybe that is a character flaw that I have, that I don't feel like that was my job. I don't feel like that I should have been the one on the receiving end of the pain and then be the first one to step back up again and go to the negotiating table. To use an analogy from the news, should Ukraine be the one begging for some kind of resolution when they're the one being wronged? Or is it up to the person that has hurt you to find the error of their ways? You would think so, but maybe they can't. Could I have been the bigger person to shine a spotlight on the person hurting me? I really tried. And so I'm just having this really weird day. And I appreciate all of the comments about how many of you can relate, because family is really difficult sometimes. Relatives can make it worse because they feel like that biological connection allows them the right to hurt you and the fact that you have to take it because you're related. And I don't agree with that at all. And there are plenty of people I am related to that I have chosen, made the conscious choice to not have as part of my family, because I just don't believe that being blood related, it gives you like a get out of jail free card to hurt the people around you indiscriminately, and just, well, you have to take it. And it's a lot of weird emotions when you don't have emotions. And that's kind of how I feel right now. It's really weird. And I don't know if I'm going to change how I feel tomorrow. It's possible. Maybe I'm going to feel differently in 6 months. Maybe I'll feel differently in a year. It's something that I think you go through the steps of grieving. And I feel like I went through those steps of grieving for the last 20 years. And when you get to the acceptance phase, that's just where you get. You know, when you get married and your dad doesn't give you away, you're in the acceptance phase. That's just where you're at. And so I wanted to kind of talk to you guys about it, because I don't ever want you guys to have the incorrect notion that that everything's okay. You know, that I think sometimes, you know, we see such an airbrushed world on social media. You know, it's like everything is a Kardashian ass, like it's supposed to be perfect and at the right angle and properly lit, and nothing's ever wrong. But I also, when I come in here to talk to you guys about stuff, I don't want it to sound like things aren't good either, because I think that life has this amazing way of punching you and then kissing you. And I'm not making a Will Smith joke, but but life has this unbelievable way of having you go through something really, really hard and then offering you something to ease the pain. The radio station going off the air, this war room family being created, rising out of its ashes. The beauty of the patriotism and camaraderie on September 12th, 2001, after such a horrific day the day before. And it's been unbelievable in my social circles, family, the people that I am so lucky to call friends, that I surround myself with, that in such a weird day, that there has been this amazing understanding and lack of judgment and support that my sister and I have received. And it's been just this crazy roller coaster ride of, I don't know. It's emotion. It's a roller coaster is all I can explain it. And, you know, we've talked about it through all 177 episodes of The War Room, is that none of us are getting off this rock alive. The best we can do is appreciate every day, cherish the people that are in our lives that love us and love them back. Make the best choices that we can in the moment, and just try to put as much good in the world and as much love into the world as we can, because life is hard and it feels like it's getting harder every day. And it just sometimes has a way of sneaking up on you and taking something away from you and then giving you a gift in its place. And I think it would be very easy to focus on what was taken, and I'm trying really hard to focus on what was given in return. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now. And it's something I wanted to talk to you guys about, because I think if it's not your dad, it's a relative, it's someone that you married, it's your kids. But I also wanted to give this advice, because I do have some friends and some of my family members that have looked at the situation with my dad and I think, have been able to see the perspective differently in the situation in their own lives because they're seeing it from my perspective. So what I can say to you is, if you are a parent or a child, if you have a strained relationship with someone, and if any part of it is your fault, the strong person figures out how to say, I'm sorry. The strong person takes the step to right their wrong. And I can only hope that the decision to not do that is something that my dad was at peace with at the very end. And I would just give you that advice that if you've done something to a family member that maybe gnaws at you, but you haven't been able to find the strength to say the words, I'm sorry, to try and mend it, try it, because you're going to run out of time. And in those last final moments, I hope that you are going to be okay with that, because it sucks if you are there about to discover the secret and leave and you have that regret. And so, as my friends always joke, those tattoo memes about no regrets, just don't have any regrets. So Jeff says, life isn't fair. Brito says, Carrie, you can always open up to us. We got your 6 for any support you need. I appreciate that, Brito. It's been a day, man. My arm is weird. My heart and soul are weird. There's no rule book on how you're supposed to process feelings. And I'm just trying to figure it out and be as good as I can be moving forward. We've been doing a lot of talking, I've been doing a lot of looking at myself, trying to remember maybe people that I have wronged and trying to remember, did I do what I could to right that wrong? If I hurt people, which was never my intention, did I do what I could to make it better? And I hope that I did. It's very complicated. And so that's my day. So I appreciate you guys being here with me every Tuesday night and sharing your family stories and your support. And, for you being able to put yourself in someone else's shoes and attribute your stories to mine and to find common ground and open up and kind of share this stuff, because again, these are some of the things that are the hardest things to do in life. And they're also skills that are more needed now than ever. And so I think it's something that we all kind of need to find a way to get better at is recognizing when we fuck up and doing what we can to make it right. So that being said, it's been a really hard week for everyone in the rock community. And when we talk about processing grief, since Friday night, I have not been able to stop thinking about Dave Grohl. All of the people in the Foo Fighters camp, obviously, Taylor Hawkins' wife and 3 children, getting the news late Friday night when the Foo Fighters posted on social media that Taylor Hawkins has passed away. I couldn't help but think about the fact that the Foo Fighters were that gift that came from Dave Grohl's grief, that the world took something from him in Kurt Cobain and his band and then gave him something in return in this amazing band and brothers that are the Foo Fighters. And then to suffer such a tragic loss with his musical soulmate and bandmate of 25 plus years, I just can't imagine how Dave Grohl feels. I don't know if you saw the pictures that TMZ got of the Foo Fighters when they landed in LA on, I believe it was Sunday night, from Colombia. and just the grief and the raw emotion on Dave Grohl's face in those photos. I felt guilty looking at the pictures because I felt like that was a moment that maybe I shouldn't be seeing. And the Foo Fighters made a second statement today. They've announced that all of their future tour dates have been canceled, which includes Boston Calling. There's no word yet on who's going to replace the Foo Fighters, but I just am trying to find a way to think about what is going to be given to Dave Grohl to make the space that Taylor Hawkins left. And I mean, how many times have we joked here in the War Room that like Dave Grohl's been living his best life, that he had the best pandemic ever. It seems like every other day the Foo Fighters are doing something amazing. And then to have this happen, it does go to show that like no one's life is perfect. And Ryan says, reading Dave Grohl's book right now, and the stories about their bond are amazing, and I haven't been able to stop thinking about him either. Perry Farrell put up a video because he was incredibly close with Taylor Hawkins as well. And he put up a video, and there was some candid video of Perry and Taylor Hawkins singing Queen with a street performer. And then Perry Farrell's wife, Etty, shared a voicemail that she got from Taylor Hawkins just a few hours before he passed away about how much he loved them and that he would see them in Sao Paulo, which was the next date on the Foo Fighters tour. And it's just tough. Like Ken says, my father died alone. He never acknowledged his 4 boys and abused my mom. Tried to make a go as an adult, and that failed. I went to the funeral and told him to rest in peace, as I know that I have a better soul and will work on not being the same man that he was. Much love. Like, it's hard to do that, and it's hard when other people are involved. And like I said, I'm going to try not to take shots, and I'm going to try to take the high road. But there are other adults that are involved in my situation specifically that I still hold incredible anger towards. And it's been really crazy. And I try to imagine, because I don't have my own children, but obviously being in the situation that I'm in with my mom, and obviously being a step parent now, trying to imagine where you need to be in a place where you disconnect from people, especially people you made out of love that you wanted. It's just, Bish says, I hope this isn't what breaks them up. And so going back to the Foo Fighters have always been Dave Grohl's band. Taylor Hawkins was very candid about how he almost quit the band once. And it was Dave Grohl that kind of sat him down and was like, look, this isn't a democracy. Like, this is my band, but, there is a place for you here. And I think, the Foo Fighters has been kind of Dave Grohl's vision. I mean, that whole first record he wrote and demoed by himself, this was his way of channeling that immense grief and sorrow of the loss of Kurt Cobain into something positive. And every member of the Foo Fighters accepts that they are a part of this amazing band, but also that this is a mechanism for Dave. I personally, and my experience with the band is not very much. My interview with them backstage at the Foo Fighter at Fenway Park when the Foos were in town in 2015 is now up as a bonus episode of the podcast. If you haven't heard it yet, my assumption would be that I don't think it will break them up. And I say that because I would like to believe that Dave feels the love that it would break Taylor's heart, I think, for the band to break up because he wasn't in it anymore. And so I would like to think that whenever the band is ready to kind of do whatever it is they're going to do next, that they would do it to honor Taylor's legacy and to stay together and make music together. I just don't know how you take that first step. And I guess the only way you can do it is to feel the feelings and to say the words and to go head on through this incredibly difficult road of grief and acceptance and to deal with it, because it's the only way to go through anything, is to just kind of throw yourself into the idea that the feelings are going to suck, but you're just going to go through them anyway. I think we've all been forced to do that over the years. But obviously, whatever they need to do, whatever Dave needs to do, that's what you do. That's the right thing. Let's see. You find a way to let it go and forgive, because if you don't, it will destroy you, says Tracy. Yeah. So that's kind of where we're at. So that being said, I want to get to the rest of the show. I don't want to keep you guys too late tonight. I know I just talked your ear off. But I don't know if you guys can see it, but I'm sweating because it's not the lights. Whatever they injected into my shoulder, while it's helping my shoulder, it's hot in here. Let's see. All right, so let's get on with the show so I can talk to you guys about what's going on. I want to recap this week's podcast episode 94. My good friend Paul Mercurio, comedian Paul Mercurio, who was in town over the weekend. I really loved his candidness about dealing with his COVID long hauler syndrome and doing it with a sense of humor. I think stand-up comics as an institution, as a career, it just seems to be a way that people that have gone through really hard things kind of process their grief. I mean, if you look at all of the comedians that we've seen over the decades, they all have come from difficult places and have found a way to use humor to kind of overcome things. And so to see my friend Paul Mercurio kind of dealing with this really tough road of 2 years almost, he got COVID pretty early on, and, long before the vaccine, and to have long hauler syndrome, like a few other people that I know have, it's incredibly difficult for them, both physically and emotionally, because you just don't understand why you're the one that's dealing with it when so many others, and we talked about it in the podcast and made a lot of jokes about it, but in a serious way, he and I had completely opposite reactions to COVID. I know I was exposed more than once and never got it. Paul didn't just get it. He got it and now he can't get rid of it. He's tested positive for it twice and he's been dealing with this vitamin regimen and dealing with long hauler syndrome for over 18 months now. And it can be incredibly taxing mentally. The same thing's happening with Jonathan Davis, who I can add on to the list of people that is dealing with long hauler syndrome as well and doing the best he can just to fight through it. And so I thought it was really important and powerful to hear Paul Mercurio talking about how he's processing it. Jonathan says Paul was on the Breaking the Ice podcast too. I know, because he always used to come on my show, Mike Shue's show, whenever he would come to town before AAF went off the air. And, there's no rivalry with me and Josh and Isaiah and Mike Shue or whatever. It's like, we want you to be successful. You're finally getting out and doing comedy dates again, post kind of COVID or just moving forward. And so we all want to do everything we can to support him. And so Donna says, Paul made me laugh my ass off. I've listened to this episode twice. I mean, he's such a really funny guy. The fact that he's a New Englander, he and I are such kindred spirits in so many ways. And, it's just inspiring the way that he is tackling something so difficult and he's doing it with such humor. And I think that that's something, to go back to what we were talking about before, is just a way to kind of be able to handle really difficult things. I always joke that, gallows humor is like my favorite type of humor, that I'm the one at the funeral trying to lighten things up and saying, well, I'm here to put the fun in funeral, and trying to, I'll give you an example. I went to my friend's wake last weekend that I talked about a couple weeks ago here in the War Room, and my husband was also with me and was closer of a friend to our friend that died, Hannah. And as we were going through the receiving line, one of the people that was in the receiving line was his ex-wife, which, anyone that's been divorced, these things are complicated. And so as you're going through the receiving line and you're greeting the children of the person that passed and the brother of the person that passed, and then you get to the person that introduces herself to you because you don't know her, and she says, well, I'm the ex-wife. I felt such empathy for her in that moment. And as I'm standing there with my husband, I looked at him and I said, well, I'm his wife for now. And she laughed. And it's like, that's how I handle situations like that. And so I understand Paul Mercurio's humor and wanting to kind of find the light in the dark situation. And I thought it was just a really good episode for that. And I just love Paul, and I, want him to come on the show anytime because I love his twisted way of looking at the world. This week on the podcast, I'm super excited about this week's episode, and it's different. This is an interesting episode for sure. Episode 95 of the Mistress Carrie podcast that goes live at midnight tonight because new episodes go live every Wednesday. Neil Sanderson from 3 Days Grace is my guest this week on the podcast. Now, there's a couple things I want to point out. The first being that this interview was recorded before Taylor Hawkins passed away, which is exactly why it's not discussed at all in the podcast, because I had a very short window of when I could get Neil to record this interview, and I couldn't release it earlier because I wanted Paul's episode to come out because he had comedy dates that I wanted to make sure everybody kind of knew about. So I talked to Neil Sanderson on St. Patrick's Day, and I made sure to make note of it in the intro to the episode because he's a drummer and obviously would have extremely strong feelings about the loss of Taylor Hawkins. The other thing that makes this episode different, and part of the reason why I didn't do what I did with Kevin Martin from Candlebox when word got out that Eddie Van Halen had passed away, and kind of call Neil back and try to get him back on, is that if you listen to the episode, he was in the woods, out in the middle of nowhere, Canada, on a snowmobile, tapping maple trees and making maple syrup. It's the most Canadian thing I've ever heard. And so he found a place in the woods where he had good cell reception, and he sat on a snowmobile in this beautiful vista in Canada. He was with his son, who you hear in the background during the interview, and his son was running around emptying buckets into this trailer that he had behind the snowmobile with all of the sap from the trees that they were going to boil down in the sugar house and make maple syrup. I did not want to further interrupt Neil Sanderson's family time by trying to get him back on to do a follow-up part of the interview when I found out about the passing of Taylor Hawkins. So this episode is really funny. I've known Neil a really long time. I love the guys in 3 Days Grace, and they are playing the big gig at the end of April, which is just a month away now. And I wanted to be able to talk because I haven't spoken to the 3 Days Grace guys since AAF went off the air. And so I wanted to be able to talk to him about some of his early memories of coming to Boston and the music fans here because AAF started playing 3 Days Grace so early on. And I also just kind of wanted to talk to him about how he's been processing this really weird time in the entertainment industry because of COVID. And the interview is great. And he is such a sweetheart. And unlike the Rob Caggiano from Volbeat episode, which you guys listened to, where those birds were chirping in the background the whole time, which I brought up in the interview. I was like, the last time I did an interview with somebody outside, the birds were out of control. Now, Rob Caggiano was like, I believe in one of the boroughs of New York, and the freaking birds were everywhere. Neil Sanderson was literally out in the Canadian wilderness, and it was like dead quiet, and he sounded perfect, like he was outside MCHQ's window. It's insane. So, super excited for you guys to hear this week's episode. So episode 95 of the Mistress Carrie podcast features 3 Days Grace drummer Neil Sanderson, and it goes live at midnight tonight. And I'm super excited for you guys, not only to hear it, but also to see 3 Days Grace coming up at the big gig. And their new album, Explosions, comes out a week after the big gig on May 6th. And I asked him in the interview, are we going to hear some of the new songs off the new record at the big gig? And he said yes. I don't want to give away any more of the interview, but super excited about this week's episode. And the playlist is awesome too. Don't forget, if you subscribe and follow the Mistress Carrie podcast, you're also going to get the sit rep, which you're going to get Monday through Friday. It's all of your rock news, music headlines, industry info, and you get it in right around 5 minutes. Sometimes it's a few seconds over. And I want to thank everybody that entered the Jerry Cantrell contest last week. It was the first time that we tried to kind of hide text code words in the episodes to try and get involved with contests on 100 FM The Pike. And it was an overwhelming success. So it's definitely something we're going to do it again in the future. So thanks to everybody that entered. Don't forget, if you're looking for the podcast, this is just a small sampling of the places that you can search for it. You can also just go to mistresscarrie.com. All the episodes are there. They upload automatically to my Facebook page where you're watching the War Room right now. And you can just basically search for the podcast anywhere that you normally listen to podcasts, and you're going to find it. We are holding strong. Speaking of our love for our neighbors to the north, maybe Neil Sanderson's been the one that's been listening to the podcast the whole time. Canada is still number 2 in listenership of the podcast, and we're holding strong at 130 countries that are listening to the podcast. And once again, it's been over a month now, and we're continuing to send all of our love to the people of Ukraine who have shown themselves to be so strong and selfless and formidable with everything that's been going on. It's really quite remarkable that they are holding their ground and really showing such passion and patriotism for their homeland. It's awe-inspiring. Yesterday, a bunch of concerts got announced once again. Mondays, these shows get announced, and it's just one right after the other. And so you got to just keep your eyes on the events calendar at mistresscarrie.com because the concerts, there's just so many shows getting announced. Announced yesterday, Hailstorm, The Pretty Reckless, The Warning, and Lilith Czar at the Leader Bank Pavilion coming up on July 19th. The tickets go on sale this Friday, April 1st at 10 a.m. Collective Soul and Switchfoot also announced a major North American tour. They are going to be at Indian Ranch coming up on August 6th. Those tickets also going on sale this Friday at 10 a.m. Last Friday, tickets for Rob Zombie, Mudvayne, Powerman 5000, and Static X at the Xfinity Center on July 30th went on sale. And also on Friday last week, Shinedown, Jelly Roll, and John Harvey tickets at the Xfinity Center on September 13th went on sale. And so if you haven't gotten your tickets to those shows, you can get them as well. The Weird Al Emo Phillips date at Indian Ranch went on sale. That's happening August 5th. Judas Priest is coming to town this weekend. They're going to be at Mohegan on April 2nd and at the Songus on April 4th if you don't have your tickets already. Alice in Chains, Breaking Benjamin, Bush are going to be at the Xfinity Center coming up on October 8th. That's right around the end of the concert season at the Xfinity Center. And The Offspring will be at the House of Blues in Boston on May 15th. Joan, Jett, and the Blackhearts, their new album came out on Friday. It's called Change Up. It's 25 tracks of covers, unplugged versions of Joan Jett originals from The Runaways, obviously her time with the Blackhearts. And it's the first time in her 40-year career that she released an acoustic album, and it is available everywhere. The Red Hot Chili Peppers album comes out this Friday. It's called Unlimited Love. The new Shinedown album, Planet Zero, is out on April 22nd, and the new Hailstorm album, Back from the Dead, will be out on May 6th, which is the day that the new 3 Days Grace album, Explosions, comes out as well. The Knotfest Roadshow is rolling into the Dunkin' Donuts Center on May 21st and May 22nd at the SNHU Arena in Manchester. Breaking Benjamin, Seether, Starset, and Lacey Sturm are going to be at the SNHU Arena on April 22nd. God damn it. Every freaking week, I erase the fact that the tickets go on sale this Friday, and the typo, for some reason, does not want to go away permanently. I don't know why. So there's your typo for the night. Pussifer is going to be at the House of Blues in Boston on June 28th, and Jelly Roll is going to be at the Palladium this Friday. I'm going to be at the show. So if you have tickets, I will definitely see you there. If you don't, you want to check the Palladium box office, get the link in the events calendar at mistresscarrie.com. House of Blues has got Royal Blood coming up on May 24th. Ringo Starr and his all-star band are going to be all over the place. They're just going to be everywhere. They're going to be at Tanglewood. They're going to be in Boston, Worcester, Guilford, New Hampshire, Providence, Rhode Island. They're just everywhere. Rise Against is going to be at the Palladium on April 9th. Fozzy at Wally's on April 9th. ZZ Top is going to be at the Leader Bank Pavilion the day their new album comes out, which is called Raw. It's a live album that was recorded back in 2019 with Dusty Hill. The album comes out on July 22nd. The show at the Leader Bank Pavilion is July 22nd. Papa Roach on the Kill the Noise tour. That show already happened. There's your second typo for the night. Sorry. Trust me, you don't need to beg me to drink. It's been a day. Flogging Molly and the Interrupters at the Leader Bank Pavilion on July 1st. Jerry Cantrell at Big Night Live on April 6th. Turnstile at the Palladium on May 21st. I also wanted to make sure that I told you about the Black Crows at Tanglewood on June 29th. And Blondie and the Damned at the Leader Bank Pavilion on August 14th, and Record Store Day coming up on April 23rd. And one thing that is on the events calendar at mistresscarrie.com that I forgot to put on the show, remember how I told you that Slash featuring Miles Kennedy and the Conspirators at the House of Blues had all those cameras? Well, we know why now. It's called April Fools, and April 15th, they are putting the Boston show at the House of Blues on Veeps. So if you were not able to go to the Slash show, they recorded the entire show in Boston. It's called April Fools Live from Boston, and the entire show sold out, crowd going crazy, Slash, face melting, shredding, Miles hitting every note. It was an amazing show. They recorded the whole thing, and you can get a ticket to stream it. So if you didn't get to go to the show, you can watch it. And I love the fact that Slash, they have to decide which show on the tour they're going to record for one of these streaming things. And they have to do it in advance. And the fact that they just chose to do Boston and said, that's the date we want to record because we know it's going to be a good show, shows that the bands appreciate what passionate rock fans we have in Boston. So it's pretty fucking badass. So April 15th, you can watch Slash online on Veeps. And the link is in the events calendar at mistresscarrie.com. The big gig is a month away with Godsmack, 3 Days Grace, Black Veil Brides, Wage War, and Lilith Czar. And also the Hair Fest is coming up on July 30th at Indian Ranch. That's a day show, by the way. The music starts at noon. It goes all afternoon. It's an absolute blast if you don't have your tickets yet. And then the next day, the Pike presents Tesla at Indian Ranch on July 31st. Both of those, it's going to be a long weekend. Your liver's going to be hurting. I want to apologize if you put something in the mail call over the last week. I think you understand why it is that I didn't get to the mail today, so I apologize if something is sitting in the mailbox and I was not able to retrieve it today, but we'll go over whatever it is that you lovely people have sent me next week for sure. Also want to remind you, Joe's albums coming up April 23rd for Record Store Day is an amazing place to go on Record Store Day. It's one of these locally owned independent brick and mortar record stores that we should all be supporting. And Joe graciously carries Mistress Carrie merchandise, which is amazing. And by the way, the tank tops are on the way. I was texting with T-Shirt Brian today. They are in production, and we should have them very soon. Celebrating birthdays today, Ray Davies was born on this date. And also, we talked about him earlier, Perry Farrell from Jane's Addiction and Porno for Pyros, and one of the founders of Lollapalooza, celebrating his birthday today. Iron Maiden Legacy of the Beast is not turning 40 today. That was last week. There's another fucking typo. Sorry, guys. The production value of the show this week is just fucking terrible. And Patreon, if you have a backstage pass on Patreon, it was nice to see you on Sunday night. We do monthly live streams where just the people that have backstage passes get together. And I was telling everybody on Sunday night how I was getting ready to go get the robot shot in my arm, and kind of hearing how some other people that have backstage passes have kind of handled these injections before. So we were talking about that. You can also, if you have a backstage pass, submit podcast interview questions. I've got some trips planned coming up, so you're going to get exclusive travel blogs and updates. And you also get access to a ton of free concert tickets. And right now I've got tickets to see Pussifer, Breaking Benjamin, Royal Blood, the Knotfest Roadshow. Rob Zombie tickets are also up for grabs. So if you have a backstage pass, you got to let me know if you want some of these tickets. And if you don't have a backstage pass, you can get one very easily. Patreon.com/Mistress Carrie, or you can just click the backstage pass link at mistresscarrie.com. You also, as we start having our own events, are going to get early access to that. And when the tank tops come out, you're going to get discount codes to get the Mistress Carrie tank tops as soon as I get them up in the store, and you'll know that they're up in the store before anybody else as well. All the places you can find me on social are all right here, just as a little bit of a reminder, and all the links are on mistresscarrie.com as well. So there you go, guys. That is kind of where we're at this week. 3 typos I counted. I'm drinking. Happy unbirthday, Keith. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. Walter, get the typo, says Mickey. Every time Carrie says typo, you have to drink. That's the social. Or if you spot a typo before I can even tell you. Caught up with the cast today. Dang dead zones in the car, says Betty. T-shirt Brian is demand, says Tracy. He 100% is. Bruins score is 6-3 now. Nice that the guys are putting up a fight. Just a hot mess express tonight, says Mark. Yeah, exactly. Thank you for understanding. If you guys have Hulu, you need to see Pam and Tommy. It is pretty, it's insane how they transformed into Pam and Tommy. Like, the casting was really good. The makeup, the prosthetics are really good. Those are not her real boobs. And they made them look like her real boobs. It's just, the series is pretty crazy. No regret, says Chris. Keith says, Carrie, I need to have a convo with you. Anytime you guys want to get a hold of me, you can just do it directly through the website. Just click the contact button and you can get a hold of me off the website. There's an email address that it gets sent to that just goes directly to me. So until I start getting barraged with emails off the website where I can't possibly manage all of them and have to get somebody to kind of go through them for me, you can just send me a message straight to through the website. Let's see. Yukon women are going to the Final Four. So awesome, says Michelle. Absolutely. Did you know there is a new Muppet, says Hines. Amira, no, I did not know there's a fucking new Muppet. So I need to see that. Bish says, wait, Pam has fake boobs. No, the girl playing Pam has fake boobs. Like, they literally had to build a whole prosthetic to go over her chest because she didn't get breast implants for the role. You need to get biker shorts, says William. I need to get a lot of stuff. Let me get the tank tops done, one thing at a time, but I'm working on it. Trust me. Let's see. Rachel, it looks real. You would not know they weren't. That's what I'm saying. The makeup on the show is unbelievable. It's crazy. So once again, I want to thank you guys for all the love and the support and everything. There was a point today where I thought about maybe pushing the War Room back to tomorrow night because I wasn't sure with how tired I am, how sore I am, kind of all of these weird reactions I'm getting to the injection that I got on my shoulder now. It's so, I'm so hot right now. And then just everything with my dad. I just wasn't sure I was going to make it through the show tonight. And you guys, once again, have just been so wonderful and have given me this amazing place where I can come and have serious conversations and that we can all kind of have adult conversations about really tough things. Processing grief is hard. And it's something that literally every single one of us is going to have to find a way to get good at because none of us are going to get out of this life without processing grief in a functional and positive way. And we just have to figure it out. So I appreciate so much all the love and support, guys. I hope I see some of you guys at Jelly Roll on Friday night. And I want my Mistress Carrie man thong, says Keith. Pamper yourself a little bit today. You deserve it so badly, says Betty. Thank you. Mark says, we know you're hot. Hey now. Yeah, exactly. Knock it off. All right. That's it, guys. The drink is almost done. The sit rep is not almost done, so I need to go and do that because I've been quite the slacker today. Paula, thank you. I will take care of myself. I appreciate that. Mickey says, we're all here for you. Always have been because you've been there for us. Absolutely. That's it. That's the end of the show. Episode 177 in the books. Still kind of amazing. Every week when I see what episode number it is, I'm like, is it really that many episodes? The answer is yeah. Hours I've spent staring at this little green light on the camera here, knowing that you guys are on the other end of it, and I appreciate you guys. So, Travis! Woo! What's up, Oscar Mike? Dude, these things are so comfortable. I literally love this thing. So you rule for sending this to me. Thank you. Good night, everybody. I will see you guys next week in the War Room. Episode 95 of the podcast goes live at midnight with Neil Sanderson from 3 Days Grace. Thank you for all of the love and support and understanding. And just none of us are getting through this thing, man, without each other. So thank you. I'll see you guys later. Good night.